As the starter of the third-year arc, the newest volume of Classroom of the Elite cannot be called bad at any point. It has some cool and funny moments, but also some intense and exciting scenes. However, after a really big hype from Volume 12.5, Volume 1 of the third-year arc needs to carry a lot of expectations from the readers, and unfortunately, the newest volume is not that great to be able to answer all the expectations. Volume 1 of the third-year arc has some shortcomings, and based on my personal opinion, it's not going to break through the top 5 Classroom of the Elite volumes so far. However, this new volume is still a good volume that gives us a clear direction for how the story will go in the future. Let's take a look at it one by one. Almost half of the volume was spent to explain how the whole school reacted to Ayanokoji's transfer. Either its friend, former friend, enemy, junior, or even the teacher, but most of the reaction was focused on Horikita. Horikita reacts as if her parents suddenly announced their divorce. She is wondering why, and starts to blame herself. All the negative thoughts hindered her performance, resulting in an unsightly defeat against Ichinose class. Horikita blaming herself is the result of all the trouble she had given Ayanokoji for the past 2 years. She believes she is not good enough, so Ayanokoji leaves her for the more promising class. The worst thing is, Ayanokoji refused to give her a straight answer why he leaves her, and it creates even bigger chaos inside Horikita. With that in mind, Horikita's insecurity and fear start to rise to the surface. She often lost in her thoughts and cannot think clearly, which becomes even worse when they lose the special exam. And this time, Horikita experiences a complete defeat, because Ayanokoji is no longer there to protect her. Horikita is not the only one who feels guilty. Chabashira believes the reason why Ayanokoji left her class is because of the matter with Hoshinomiya. She thought Ayanokoji intended to take responsibility alone, so he left the class for everyone's sake. As for Haruka, she is wondering if Ayanokoji left the class because Haruka pressured him to become friends once again. None of them want to think that Ayanokoji left the class because of his own choice. Even though they already spent quite a lot of time together, they really have no idea what has actually been inside Ayanokoji's head this whole time. The only one who knows Ayanokoji's true intention is Koenji, and it's actually ironic that Koenji knows Ayanokoji better than all of his friends. For the transfer class reaction, we need to give Kinugasa a raise. He clearly depicts how Ayanokoji's transfer affects the class by dividing the students into 3 different reactions. The ones who know his ability the most, like Horikita and Matsushita, experience a sudden change in their personality. Matsushita becomes more quiet and smiles less, while Sudo starts to get upset over the smallest thing, just like he was in the past. The one who is just simply a friend with him doesn't show much reaction, but deep down cares about him and also feels guilty, just like Haruka. And the ones who know nothing about him just feel shocked at first, but quickly forget about him, and this is the majority of the class. It's irritating, but that just told us how most of the students saw Ayanokoji. The funny thing is, the one who is affected the most is the one who recovers faster, while the one who didn't care will slowly feel the effect in the future. Ayanokoji's transfer didn't directly hit them like an earthquake, but the effect slowly built up and turned into a tsunami. We could see how Horikita managed to recover at the end of the volume, while the don't care student just started to feel disturbed after they lost in the special exam. The impact of Ayanokoji's transfer might be different for each student, but sooner or later they will definitely feel what they have lost, and that will be the time their everyday life will completely change forever. Horikita is the first one to feel it, and the first one to recover from it. It took 3 different people to wake Horikita from her despair state: Kushida, Ibuki, and finally Karizawa. Kushida with her harsh words, Ibuki with her violent kick, and Karizawa with her soft and warm heart. Just like what Ayanokoji predicted a long time ago, Horikita will always have someone to rely on even after he leaves the class. Karizawa manages to make Horikita realize that she is not the only one who lost Ayanokoji. They share the same wound, and by licking each other's wound, they manage to stand and walk forward together. This scene reminds me of their conversation in the Volume 10 first-year arc side story, where Kei gave advice to Horikita to trust Ayanokoji. Horikita in that time had a fear that she would get betrayed if she trusted Ayanokoji too much, and her word was proven right. Meanwhile, Kei in that time believed she had nothing to fear anymore, so she trusted Ayanokoji, and her word was proven wrong. Both of them put their trust in Ayanokoji and get betrayed because of it. At least, now they already have each other to trust. Ayanokoji's transfer is not as smooth as readers expect it to be. Even though they gathered their points for Ayanokoji's transfer, almost everyone didn't believe in Ayanokoji. They agreed to gather points for Ayanokoji for the sake of weakening Class A, but Hashimoto is the only one who actually supports him to become their leader, while the others are still doubtful and suspicious of him. However, the way they treat Ayanokoji proves that they are different compared to the students who were placed in Class D. They can keep their head calm and give Ayanokoji a chance to prove himself in the next special exam. There is no one who mocks him or calls him useless, but they simply wait and see to make a proper judgment. Even if they fall into Class C, their quality is still undoubtedly Class A. With Ayanokoji entering an entirely different class, we get introduced to several new characters, with Shiraishi Asuka taking the spotlight. Just like any other girl in this series, Shiraishi is showing some kind of interest toward Ayanokoji. Shiraishi appears to be a kind, sociable, but not so innocent character. She doesn't seem like an important figure in her class, but her voice fetish and her side story clearly indicate that she will take a crucial role in the future, especially because of her secret relationship with Sakai Yanagi. And with her sitting beside Ayanokoji, we will definitely get a lot of scene with her. However, Morishita is clearly the most unique and interesting character. I never thought the innocent and angelic Hiyori could be outshined by an annoying girl with autism. Her antique and surprisingly intuitive actions contribute the most to the comedy in this volume, but she is way more important than just a joke maker. Morishita had shown her distrust and interest toward Ayanokoji, and she didn't even try to hide it. She becomes the one who observes Ayanokoji from close, and doesn't hesitate to ask the most uncomfortable question. Her method might be unusual, but she is doing what she can for her class. For me, Morishita is a great character because we still don't know what's actually going on inside her mind. She could become an enemy for Ayanokoji, or maybe an unexpected traitor, but let's just hope she will not end up like any other girls who just exist for fan service. This new special exam is not something that I think I would like. Because this exam revolved around academics, Ryuen's class ended up at a disadvantage. And unlike Volume 9 second year arc exam, this exam is not really balanced to give a fair advantage toward the lower academic class. The pairing for the exam itself does not make any sense. Ayanokoji's class with the highest academic score got paired with Ryuen's class with the lowest academic score. It should be more fair if Ayanokoji's class faces Horikita's or Ichinose's class, but the goddess of luck is not taking Ryuen's side this time. There is no expulsion, and the penalty for the losing class is not even that much. I guess it's fair to say that this exam is just a warm-up for the third-year student, but if we compare it with Volume 1 second year arc, that exam has more penalties such as expulsion and private point reduction. The only interesting thing from this new exam is the penalty point system for minority battles, but the other part is just ordinary. Their strategy to choose the participant for the minority battle is the key to winning. There is not much to say about Horikita's class versus Ichinose's class, since Horikita's class mostly relies on a few exceptional students, while Ichinose class gets help from Ayanokoji who could easily predict them. The battle between Ayanokoji and Ryuen is more interesting to analyze. Since Ryuen's class was almost certain to lose, Ryuen decided to throw away the exam and chose another type of victory. Because Ryuen no longer has any traitor in Class C, he pays a first-year student to spy on Ayanokoji. His plan is not bad, but the way he plays still doesn't change. Ayanokoji could easily predict his plan because he already had a full picture of Ryuen's personality. However, Ayanokoji chose not to do anything. He let Ryuen play and reap the benefit of Ryuen's plan. Unbeknownst to Ryuen, he already lost ever since he paid the first-year student to spy on Ayanokoji. By putting 100 penalty points on Ayanokoji, he let the whole school know how wary Ryuen was of Ayanokoji. Because Ryuen was the one who drove Sakai Yanagi out of the school, Ayanokoji automatically became someone on par with or even surpassing Sakai Yanagi, because Ryuen still cannot win against him even when Ayanokoji didn't do anything. Ayanokoji also chose to abandon total victory and become the representative in the minority battle. That way, the whole school could see his perfect score on the exam. Because this exam is so difficult that even the smartest student could only get 80 points, Ayanokoji once again secures his position above his classmates. Class C are well known for their academic ability, so getting a perfect score is already enough to prove to everyone that Ayanokoji has enough quality to become their leader. By playing with Ryuen, Ayanokoji had shown his intellect, proven his critical thinking, and even secured the total cooperation of Ichinose's class. This is not the best strategy Ayanokoji ever came up with, but this kind of tactic where Ayanokoji uses someone's plan to his advantage is satisfying in its own way. As for Ryuen, he still has a long way to go. Even after a whole year, he still found himself playing in the palm of Ayanokoji. The way he remembers Sakayanagi's words should be enough to tell him that he cannot win if he is alone. Ryuen refused to tell anyone about his plan, and he ended up becoming a stepping stone for Ayanokoji's leadership. If only he asked for another opinion, he could create a better plan, or at least he wouldn't be humiliated. If only Ryuen stopped thinking that he knows everything and start to accept everyone around him, Ryuen and his class would be way more formidable. But that will be a story for another time. The last thing that needs to be addressed is Kito. Even if the whole class accepts Ayanokoji as their leader, Kito is an exception. Kito is the muscle of Class C, so a perfect score in the exam is not enough to convince him. That's why Ayanokoji chose to convince Kito in the field that Kito knew the most. However, even though Ayanokoji wins easily against him, Kito still cannot acknowledge Ayanokoji. What we know about Kito is not enough to predict what he will do in the future. I think it's safe to assume that he will support Ayanokoji as long as Ayanokoji brings a good result for the class, but if Ayanokoji starts to put his personal goal as his priority, that will be the time for Kito to take him down. Ichinose stole a lot of attention in this volume. After we saw how she slowly changed, with the last volume as the biggest trigger, Ichinose finally achieved her final form and showed her full potential. While Ichinose's development is a bit disturbing to see, her new complex character is definitely better than the simple kind-hearted girl that we know in the first year. The feeling that changed Ichinose is not just a simple love, but it's more similar to obsession. She adored Ayanokoji, praising him, and gave everything to him without expecting anything in return. Ichinose doesn't seek an equal relationship, and if she doesn't expect anything in return, she will never feel disappointed. Ichinose knows she's just being used by Ayanokoji, but she happily lets herself be used by him. However, she also uses Ayanokoji for her own benefit. This is where she becomes so different from Kei. If Kei's relationship with Ayanokoji was parasitism, Ichinose's relationship with Ayanokoji is mutualism. However, Ichinose is not hopeless for Ayanokoji. In her conversation with Ichika, she explains that she will not give too much, because something will become more tasty if enjoyed only on a special occasion. She also not completely ignorant about Ayanokoji's true nature. The way she still remembers the white room gives me the feeling that Ichinose wants to touch an even deeper part of Ayanokoji. Maybe she wants to deepen her love, but let's hope she doesn't dig too far. The combination between Ayanokoji and Ichinose is way beyond terrifying. If Ayanokoji is the brain, Ichinose is his nervous system. Ayanokoji realizes his limit in gathering information, which was the reason he blackmailed Kei in the past. Ichinose is definitely the upgraded version of Kei. She is bigger, smarter, and has a wider social circle. One single scene with Kei has already proven her capability. It's no exaggeration to say that as long as Ayanokoji has Ichinose, there will be no one or even a way to defeat him. After the cooperation between them has already gained full support between their classes, Horikita and Ryuen need to prepare their downfall. One thing that makes me quite sad is there was no mention of Nagumo in this volume. We didn't get to know what happened at the end of his regime in volume 12.5, and this volume still didn't give us any clue whether Kiriyama managed to transfer to Class A or not. Another thing that makes me sad is there is no indication of Koenji doing something serious in this volume. The bet between Koenji's father and Atsuomi is one of the hypest moments in volume 12.5, so the fact that we didn't get any payoffs is definitely a letdown. This is just my personal opinion, but this volume lacks tension and impact. If we compare it to the volume 1 second year arc, we could see how the tension was slowly built and peaked at the Hosen knife scene. Because the conflicts are all over the place, this volume didn't leave a deep impression that lasts for long. This volume is more focused on character and how they handle the sudden change in their life, which Kinugasa handles very beautifully. However, One thing that makes me really like this volume is how Kinugasa introduces a potential conflict for the future. We could see the secret of the White Room slowly exposed by Ichinose, Morishita accidentally overhearing Tsubasa's conversation, and Ayanokoji finally remembering Yuki. This kind of conflict might lead to Ayanokoji's past getting exposed, or Ayanokoji himself might openly tell someone about his past. It's hard to imagine Ayanokoji told someone about the White Room, but if he really did that, that means he will experience some kind of change in the future, and let's just hope it's a good change. It's also surprising that the second-year student has their own part in this volume. Kinugasa stated in the previous volume that he wants to focus on the third-year character, but it seems the second-year students still have 1 or 2 conflicts that they need to solve. Housen still tries to pick a fight with Ayanokoji. Tsubaki will be important in Yuki's story, and Tsubasa, Ichika, and Ishigami will have their own part involving the White Room. This volume ended with a secret conversation between Tsubasa and Tsukishiro, which added more mystery to the plot. Tsubasa stated that she will continue observing Ayanokoji, but Ishigami and the new first-year student might become a hindrance for her. There is too much theory that we could speculate just by their short conversation, but the most important thing is we finally get back on track. We are no longer reading the volume without any clear direction, just like the latter half of the second-year arc. The third-year arc started with actual direction, which will most likely focus on Ayanokoji's goal and the mystery surrounding his enrollment in ANHS. With that in mind, the second volume of the third-year arc will be worth waiting for.